Let's bring in Fox News contributor and former Utah Congressman, the great Jason Chaffetz, along with former Georgia Congressman and also wonderful Doug Collins, both of you. We kind of got a little congressional reunion going on here. Welcome to you all. Jason, to you first. Let's talk about expectations for tomorrow. You've done debates. All of us have done the debates. There's a lot of preparation on Kamala Harris's team. How is this going to play out tomorrow? What do you expect?
Well, I think Kamala Harris's expectations are high. She's a sitting vice president. She's been in the United States Senate. She's been practicing for days, if not weeks on end. But the problem with Kamala Harris is when she actually starts speaking and thinking, those things aren't really compatible with her, and you get these word salads. The other problem for Kamala Harris is she has not flexed her political muscle. And you and Doug all realize when you're out on the campaign trail, meeting with voters, answering questions, doing town halls, talking to reporters, having press conferences, then you hear all the questions. You understand what works and what doesn't work. You try to mock that in a pretend one. I think she is going to be so absolutely petrified nervous. I think she'll be so nervous.
I think she's nervous, Jason, and I think the whole team is really worried about it. Doug, I want to ask you this, because when it comes to Trump, what they're hoping is that, he'll be the Trump of yesteryear and he'll try to go after her. I don't think he's going to do that. He didn't do that to Joe Biden in the first debate. If you watched, for example, his speech at the Economic Club last week, he was extremely measured. He is a new version of himself. He gets it. I think this is his debate to lose. He just has to let her make mistakes.
Well, I think that's what these question and answer sessions really are, and that's what they are. And Donald Trump is, I think, after last night, or tomorrow night, he will have done the most presidential televised debates in history. And, I think this will be his 7th one. He knows how to react. He knows how to interact with people, and he knows what works. And Jason just hit a very, very important point. I don't think it's been very good, and I'm happy for this because this is the way the Harris team has decided to do it, to keep her away from people. But actually, it's like, football, baseball, or anything else. The practice and actually getting out and playing games is where you learn how to do it. Yeah. It's not in the controlled environment when you can stop it at any point and mess up and go back and do it again, no matter how much you've got somebody dressed like Donald Trump. Standing across the way from Donald Trump is going to require her to actually articulate not just her rote memorization, which is what she'll try to do tomorrow night, but if she does it and she's not answering questions, Donald Trump is very good at saying, look, you didn't answer the questions. And his reserved character, I think they misjudge Trump so many times because he can react to the moment, because he's done it so many times from TV to business to politics and debates. That's what they need to be worried about.
Both of you make a really good point because it's a muscle that you have to work out, and you get better at it the more you do it. And I think, Jason, you said this. There's not one question that someone can ask you. If you actually engage with the media and your constituents, you hear all of them, and you develop an answer for them, and you improve that answer as time goes on. She hasn't done any of it. I think she's going to be freaked out when she steps on stage, and then the nerves take over as opposed to all the prep. But I digress. Let's move to this, because Democrats like Nancy Pelosi, they seem to think the Republican Party, they're in desperate, dire needs of being saved from Trump.
I really do think it's really important for us to have a strong Republican Party in our country. And Dick Cheney? Oh, my gosh. And Dick, so there are some, shall we say, adults in the room of the Republican Party still. If this were an election with George Bush or Mitt Romney or Bob Dole or John McCain, it would best be an election, and we would move on with the outcome. But this is a different threat. It's not about differences of opinion, which is part of a democracy. We welcome that. It's about a challenge to our democracy. So we have to return to normalcy.
Jason, there must be pigs flying outside, because Nancy Pelosi is heaping praise on Dick Cheney. But on the flip side of that, you have Elon Musk and RFK Jr. endorsing Donald Trump. I think Dick Cheney's kind of a war guy. Right? He loves war, and Democrats are now the party of war. What do you make of her comments?
Yeah, I mean, to have, it's just actually unbelievable, right? You got a Kennedy endorsing Trump, and here you have a Dick Cheney endorsing Kamala Harris. I mean, what kind of world are we living in at this point? But look, Nancy Pelosi, she has Trump derangement syndrome. He gets under her skin like no other. And that's what I love about him as a president, he could negotiate with her. He didn't just go along to get along. He didn't go with everything in Washington, D.C., and they love him all the more because of it. They never understood that about Donald Trump.
And Doug, they keep hitting the same tired note. He's a threat. He's a threat. Let's scare people because we have nothing else to say. If we actually talk about policies, he's got good policies that people like. The individual polls show on issues he's, beating her pretty much on every top issue. And then ultimately it comes back to this scaring technique because any policy that she has that's kind of normal, she stole from him.
Yeah, well, let's just face it. The threat to democracy was when they ousted Biden from the Democratic nominee and without any votes. And they did it sort of behind closed doors with all the push. So, look, let's get over this threat to democracy issue because it's not Donald Trump. And I think the issue that they're scared of so much is that he does challenge the norms. He does challenge the ideas there. But it's just a world in which they can't run. It's the Harris administration. If they wanted to get rid of Joe Biden, then let's put it on the vice president. It's the Harris administration that they're having to run against. And they don't like what the people are telling them about the Harris administration when it comes to the cost of everything, the border being open, wars being fought, and basically a nondescript presidency that has only been giving to those on the far left and pandering to those, especially like the pro-Hamas wing of the Democratic Party and others who are out of step with mainstream. And I think that's what scares them. They can't run as Democrats. It's funny Nancy Pelosi would say that she wanted an old old Republican Party. Well, I bet there's a lot of Democrats I know down here in Georgia who are saying whatever happened to an old Democratic Party because they see the Republican Party as actually the one for them.
And it's rich them talking about expressive democracy. They were the ones that had the fake Russia collusion hoax. They had the lawfare against Donald Trump, try to kick him off ballots. I mean, progressive democracy belongs squarely in the camp of the Democrat Party. Jason Chaffetz, Doug Collins, great to see you guys. Thanks for being with us on The Bottom Line. We appreciate it.